Reminder, please use the raise hand button if you have questions for Joe. With that said, if someone wants to open up for the first question, the floor is open.
It's a good one today.
Not all at once.
Hi, Joe. I'll jump in. With Denver going through their issues the other week with quarterbacks, how much work do you guys do for, like, in case of emergency, break glass in terms of who the extra quarterbacks are, what a spare lineman would look like, and when does that happen?
Well, I think, going into this year, you had to think of all the – I don't know if you ever really prepared for that scenario. I mean, it's that that's obviously unfortunate for – you find out the day before the game, and from that, I hope you don't have to get to that extreme. But, yeah, we knew this year there was going to be a lot of obstacles potentially that were going to be a lot of out of our control potentially. And so, we do think about those things. It's, it's in the back pocket, and there's a lot of things that you hope you don't necessarily have to utilize. But there's a lot of I's that get dotted and a lot of T's that get crossed from that standpoint for sure.
Is there a guy, even on the other side of the ball, who you would think, like, if we got in a pinch, this defensive lineman could be a guard or stuff like that?
Well, you look at our team this year. We've played, it's a fourth quarter, last drive of the game, and you got Miles Hartsfield, taking running back carries, and so there's, if they're on your roster, they're available. And so, we've thought about a lot of these things to Coach Rule's credit. He's done a great job of understanding what's, what the strengths of each football player, and knowing that the way that this year could play out, knowing, hey, this guy can play this position and potentially this position. And, we're fortunate that we haven't had to deal with it as much, like some of these other teams like Denver had to.
Let's go to Jonathan Alexander and then David Newton.
Hey, Joe. Hope you're doing well.
You too, brother.
After last week's loss and the way it ended, how did you reflect on what happened there?
I kind of reflect the same way after every game, win and loss. Every game you walk away with, there's positive that you can take from it, and there's obviously negatives, and it's growing experiences and learning experiences for your players, for your team, for your offense, and no matter what, you want to win football games. And so I have the mindset that when you lose a football game, I'm always going to put it on myself, just because that's the mindset and the ownership that I want myself to have and our offense to have. And so there's always things that you want to do differently, and there's calls that you want back, or there's plays that you want to you wish you had more made. But I try not to spend so much time reflecting on the negative aspects of it and what necessarily happened of it, and seeing, hey, how can we grow from it? What are the positives from the game, and how can we continue to get better as the season goes on?
Hey, Joe, you got, I guess, two wide receivers that have been out for a while, in Curtis and DJ, on the COVID list. Dante Jackson told us he could play wide receiver and you wouldn't miss a beat on your offense. So have you taken a look at him, and how are you guys preparing without perhaps your top two receivers?
Yeah, no, we're preparing as if, it's the next game. Today's the most important day, and whoever's available today, we're going to get them ready to go and ready to play on Sunday. And I kind of said it all year. We have that, especially the whole football team, but especially on our offense, we talk about we're not going to blink. We're just going to keep moving forward. And it's unfortunate, and we care more about our safeties of our players more than anything. And but we know that there's still going to be a game to be played. And so the receivers that we have available, we're going to get them ready to go, and they're going to have success. And I look forward to it.
You buy into Dante saying you wouldn't miss a beat with him?
That's, I love Dante. Just coming from LSU, that's the LSU Tiger in him for sure. But I honestly, and I feel confident if Coach gave us DBs and said, hey, you have to get those guys ready to play wide receiver. I believe in our coaching staff and things that we can do that will get him ready to go, and he'd have success. And so, I love Dante, but I hope it wouldn't have to come to it. I like Dante defending wide receivers as well.
And I want to ask you more. Is there something you guys could do to work, like get the play getting in slow, I guess, in the against Minnesota? Is there something you guys are doing to work on maybe improving that and getting that tight? It seems like it may have happened a few other times this year. Yeah,
I think there's it always can be that. Sometimes it can be play calling. It can be us in terms of the play calls, maybe shortening some of the words and just the communication or the personnel grouping. So I don't think there's one theme that it's, hey, this is the exact reason. And like I said, I'm always going to put it on myself. Obviously, when there's a penalty or there's a mistake, I'm the offensive coordinator, and so I have to take the ownership with it. And but from that standpoint, we've talked about it and we've communicated in terms of a lot of it just comes down to communication, and a lot of it comes down to before games, communication when you get to that standpoint. So there's not a lot to have to talk about, and you kind of know exactly what the plan is and going with it.
All right, let's go to Elena Getzenberg, followed by Joe Person.
Hey, Joe, I was curious, during the bye week, is there anything that you took time to look back at the offense and reevaluate? Or is there anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, you get an opportunity, and you're 12 games in, and so you really are able to paint a picture of exactly kind of who you are, right? And so it gave us gave myself a great opportunity to go back through, situationally, go back through red zones, third downs, the pass game, the run game. I know I just basically just said everything, but it really gives you an idea to go back through and just figure out, what you're doing well, what you need to continue to improve upon, and, how we can, better improve our offense the final 4 games of the season, especially Denver. And then it gives you an opportunity really to get a head start on your upcoming opponent. And so, the bye week was valuable. I'd much rather been calling a game and preparing for a game, but it was good to get a head start.
And then I was curious, I know you kind of just told David that, to help get that plan sooner, you guys have to communicate better. How do you, you're 12 games in now, how do you work on that? How does that get improved?
Well, I think, like I said, we have dot meetings with the quarterbacks the night before the games, and you talk about situations, scenarios, and, and just it's more so not necessarily poor communication. I think that can get, misconstrued. It's more so just having the understanding, hey, this is exactly how we see it. Knowing, hey, this is how many seconds we have after the timeouts. It's not a 2-minute warning. Those little things, not necessarily like, hey, don't know what to say, what to call, and we're doing a poor job at that. It's not necessarily that at all.
Joe, we saw Tommy in a 84 number yesterday. Matt said he's getting some looks at tight end and receiver, primarily on the scout team. But would he be an emergency guy this week if things go sideways with some of your COVID guys?
Yeah, I think everybody's. If you're on our roster, I think the NFL gave you that availability to be able to pull guys up from your practice squad each week, and I think Coach does a great job at making sure that guys get reps throughout the week. And so, if need be, Tommy is just like Gio and Markin and the rest of the guys on the practice squad. They got to be ready to go, because if their answer's called the day of the game, they got to be ready to go.
And then something else. So this is the time of year, as you know, that we start seeing about head coaching speculation and interview, and your name's already come up on those kind of lists. How will you approach that? And do you think you're ready?
It's something that, like, I know I've said it before. I haven't really approached it because I don't really have time to think about it. I think it's really unfair to my players if I did. I'm trying to find ways to win this week. And if, something came up after the year, it's something that you'd have to discuss and think about. But right now it's kind of something that, I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about, because I don't really have the opportunity to. So I'm fortunate from that. So to answer anything else about that, I'd be being injustice. Sorry about that.
Let's go to Phil Orban for the next question.
Hey, Joe, just kind of for my kind of edification, what are you able to communicate with the guys on the COVID reserve list, like Curtis and DJ? Are you able to have meetings with them and things like that, just from a rules standpoint?
To my knowledge, I don't know how specific the rules are, in terms of what they're allowed to be in, whether it's virtual meetings, the communication, in terms of like I know that I'm honestly right now only cared about just making sure my texts with them have not been anything football related. It's been everything just, how are they feeling all right? And I know that seems like it's, at the end of the day, football is not the most important thing. And so my communication with them has strictly been, health purposes, making sure everything is okay. But outside of that, I can't really communicate anything with regards to the protocols and whatnot, COVID related.
Does it help at least, though, that you're now going into your 12th game where you have some familiarity with what they can do, and there's if they are called up kind of last minute, you're at least more comfortable with the things they can do, as opposed to if this happened in the first third of the season, quarter of the season?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think kind of like, like Elena said, have an opportunity to go back through everything in the bye week. You really get a feel of what your guys do well. And so, if there was possibilities where they were able to be up this week, knowing that, hey, they can handle this role and they can handle that role. Absolutely.
Let's go to Mike Solarte.
Hey, Joe, question following up about your comments there coming off the bye week. When you look at Denver and their red zone defense, and you guys have played some good red zone defenses, but these guys right now are the tops or top 2 or top 3, wherever they rank. But the execution point on red zone offense has been a sticking issue all season long. How do you come off of the week off with guys that you may not have in the lineup and try to have success in what you guys are doing? Because you're not focusing on what they do. You're trying to execute what you do.
Yeah, no, I think it goes hand in hand. And, I think you evaluate each week. Every defense plays different, different coverages, different, they understand your tendencies, just like, it's our job to prepare for their tendencies. And, I think a lot of it has to do with, what are they doing from a coverage standpoint? And I think you watch them, especially this past week, I think they do a great job in the red zone of limiting teams to field goals. They're the best in the league at that. And so I think a lot of, an emphasis is obviously when you get down there, understanding how to potentially attack them in the coverages that they're in or find ways to run it in there. And our biggest thing right now is just the execution element of it. While we get in there is, just making sure it's as situations get down there, the field gets shortened. And so, missed assignments or mental mistakes and when that happens, it's on the coaching and understanding that when you're playing the top defense, that stuff can't happen, especially turnovers in the red zone. And, we've had 3 of those in the last 2 weeks and, you're never going to give a chance an opportunity to win the football game when you're doing that.
And just to kind of follow up on the coaching piece there, after the Minnesota game, Coach Rule said the loss is on us. It's on us as coaches.
Mm-hmm.
He jumped on the grenade, brought you guys with him. So you had the bye week to evaluate what you've done as a coach and what your staff has done as coaches. What did you see? And is there specifics that can be shared as to what you discovered? And
yeah, no, I think a lot of that, I think that's stuff for potentially after the year to kind of share, some of our findings. But, we're 4-8 right now. And so, you kind of are who your record is. And so we have to continue that. We have an opportunity to have 4 games and it starts with this week. And so that's the most important thing. That's all we're really thinking about. And, my focus on the bye week when you're evaluating all this and you're doing your self scouts and your studies is, all right, how can we find ways to attack and go 1-0 against Denver? And so that's really the only focus that we've kind of had.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. Joe, we appreciate you stopping by.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.